Hi, my name is Stephanie Hertz, Marketing Director here at Warwick Forest Retirement Community. Warwick Forest is the premier sponsor for the Lifelong Learning Society, and we welcome you to the Riverside Lecture Series. Today, I have the pleasure of introducing Lanita Williams. Lanita is a registered dietitian currently working at Riverside Regional Medical Center. She is originally from Norfolk, Virginia, but has been living in Hampton, Virginia since 2015. Lanita received a Bachelor of Science degree in biology from Virginia State University in 2010 and completed the VSU dietetic internship, as well as earned her credentials as a registered dietitian in 2015. She went on to receive Master of Science degree in clinical nutrition from the Rosalind Franklin University of Medicine and Science in 2019. Lanita has been working as a clinical dietitian at Riverside Regional Medical Center since January of 2017 in an inpatient setting, as well as providing heart-healthy diet education in an outpatient setting to the participants of Riverside's cardiac rehabilitation program. In addition to caring for adults, she recently took on the role as primary dietitian for Riverside's neonatal intensive care unit. Her goals are to continue to work with both adults and infants and hopefully obtain additional certification as a board-certified specialist in pediatric nutrition, as well as credentials as a certified nutrition support clinician. Lanita's favorite activity is to travel the world with her husband, friends, and family. Please welcome Lanita Williams as she speaks about nutrition for aging adults.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you for attending this presentation. It's a pleasure to be here, so I will go ahead and get started. So before we really begin, I thought about that I'd ask the audience to just consider asking themselves a few questions. So envisioning yourself at the age of 60, 75, or 90 years of age, consider asking yourself questions like, are you physically fit and healthy? Can you see yourself with friends or family walking along the beach, playing with children, throwing a ball? Are you able to move up and down the stairs? Can you carry your own groceries? Are you enjoying life? And so I think about these questions because making nutritious foods at home, having a healthy diet, and engaging in physical activity can bring forth rewards of continued health and enjoyment throughout life. But then when I also see these questions, I think about how when one's health declines, it can potentially rob us of those rewards. So that's why I'm here today to talk, a little bit more about nutrition. And then I thought I might share some interesting statistical data with you all just about the demographics of the aging population. So in 2019, the population for ages 65 and older was 54.1 million. So 30 million women and 24.1 million men. The population of age 65 and older represented 16% of the population in 2019 and is expected to climb to 21.6% by the year 2040. And then an interesting fun fact that I came across also was that the states with the highest percentage of population ages 65 and older in 2019 were Maine, Florida, Vermont, and West Virginia. I didn't dive that deep into why those states in particular. Florida, maybe for more obvious reasons, palm trees, beaches, sunlight, but I thought that was pretty interesting. So the older age, that population is rapidly climbing. So you might wonder, what's changed? So earlier access to healthcare, more advances in health disease prevention and treatment, and as well as improved nutrition and having an abundant food supply all contribute to lengthening the lifespan. So our objectives for the presentation today to help you understand the meaning of aging and the factors that are associated with it, understanding the importance of nutrition in aging, learning about the nutrient needs of the aging adult, identifying the nutrients that are of greatest concern as we age, and then learning about conditions that impact older adults and how nutrition may play a role in improving those, and then strategies to promote healthful aging. So what is aging? Aging can be referred to, or just there's many words that can, be used to describe aging: intrinsic, universal, irreversible, or progressive, or seasoned, or maturing. Aging has also been referred to as a term called senescence, which is the non-reversible deteriorating changes that occur as cells and organisms age, ultimately leaving us vulnerable to disease, dysfunction, and death. But aging is just an irreversible process that is programmed within us, and it's influenced by many factors, some that I've listed here in my diagram. So biological factors. So when I think of biological factors, as we age, our organ systems change, and then that could ultimately affect or contribute to our body's decline in function, and it affects our nutritional status. So for example, as we age, we might have, we lose some of our muscle mass and our bone mass, and we tend to gain more fat. And then we experience changes in our digestive tract. We might also experience tooth loss or changes in our sense of taste and smell, and other physical problems. Environmental factors, just, kind of referring to the environment around you. So what type of factors or things surround you that are, are they stressors in your life, or are they things that are, making you happy or keeping you healthy? Psychological factors, for example, experiencing depression. Depression is more common in older individuals, especially those that are, that have poor health or are living in nursing homes. Sometimes, or we see depression in people who are overcoming grief, either because of a loss of a loved one, a spouse, or a close friend. And depressed people, they tend to have, less of an appetite, and they're not as motivated to do things like cooking, and then they lose the ability to do simple physical tasks. And so in order to kind of combat depression, consuming a balanced diet is a good nutritional approach to reducing those symptoms of depression, improving your quality of life. And then economical factors like changes in living arrangements or your income, which can affect your food choices or eating habits. And so a resolution to that would be like seeking additional resources for additional support through maybe government assistance programs. Social factors. So malnutrition is likely to occur in people that are living alone, or people who don't have a lot of education, or people who have any recent changes in their lifestyle. And so adults who live alone, they don't necessarily make poor food choices. They just tend to eat a lot less. And so loneliness can be associated with nutritional inadequacies. So, and then that also has an effect on, declining activities of daily living and mobility. So social factors, being surrounded by family and friends can certainly help to reduce your risk of having any nutritional problems like malnutrition. So it can be hard to kind of interpret how these factors impact people's lives and the effect that they have on aging, because aging is so complex and is very individualized. So everybody's not the same. But one thing's for sure, what they all have in common is that adequate nutrition can certainly help with to mitigate the aging process. So nutrition, why is it so important with aging? Good nutrition is important no matter what age you are. So good nutrition helps to fuel us, helps to prevent certain diseases like heart disease or diabetes and certain cancers. As we age, our body changes, and so does the things that we need. So getting enough nutrients can help us maintain a healthy body weight, help us remain functionally independent, and also help us, ease into the aging process and just improve our quality of life. So physical activity. As people age, again, we lose our muscle mass and strength. And so older adults who are physically active tend to weigh less. They're more flexible, they have more endurance and better balance. They have improved their blood pressure and improved sleep. And so engaging in like some resistance training or aerobics activities can certainly help with maintaining your independence. So making physical activity a part of each day, wherever you can. I typically encourage people, even if it's just 10 to 20 minutes within, throughout the day and intervals, but finding time to do something just to keep yourself physically active. So being physically active doesn't mean necessarily going out and spending money on like a gym membership, but using the things around you. like your home and, being outside, Mother Nature, walking around the neighborhood. Being physically active can mean doing household chores or gardening. If you're new to physical activity, it's good to just kind of work yourself into it. Start by walking shorter distances and just continue to practice at it until you can walk continuously for at least 10 minutes straight. It's recommended that adults get 30 to 60 minutes of physical activity at least 5 days throughout the week. I like to throw the disclaimer out there about talking to your doctor, depending upon your health status and any physical conditions or whatever your health status is going on. You always want to talk with your doctor first to make sure that it is okay for you to start doing physical activity and which physical activities might be most appropriate for you. All right. So getting into the nutrient needs of older adults, what exactly or how much do adults need? So I did this in case there's anybody out there that, people that are like really into numbers, but this is kind of the only slide with numbers because sometimes numbers can throw people off. But the information here comes from the 2020 to 2025 Dietary Guidelines for Americans. So if you've never heard of that, it is a set of guidelines developed by the USDA and Health and Human Services Department. And so they base it on scientific research, researching adults and of different ages and genders and with different health statuses. And it just provides guidelines on, how to eat nutritious foods, like how much of each food group that we need for various age groups. And it also talks about, ways to enjoy your food. So it's a very lengthy document, but I just grabbed this little snippet from there just to show you like a calorie range. So this calorie ranges are based on certain age groups, your gender, and then your physical activity level. So for the females, the calories go from 1,600 to about 2,000, depending upon your physical activity level. And then for the males, 2,000 to about 2,600 calories. So it just kind of depends on where you are physically. Notice the calories, they're not, they go down with less physical activity. They're not as high for older adults. And that's just because, again, as we age, older adults, they tend to eat less and they don't move around as much. So that's why the calorie ranges can be on the lower end. But what this doesn't take into account is considering a person's health status. So I would say maybe not to take those numbers too literally because it could, change depending upon other things like your health status, what's going on, if you need more calories to gain weight, or if you're losing weight, if you have a condition that's causing you to lose weight, or if you have any like wounds or any skin breakdown, people with that type of condition will need extra calories. But for the most part, just wanted to give you all a general range. So with that said, after talking about calories, I thought it'd be good to focus on specifically some nutrients that are really great concern for older adults. So starting with water. So water is important as we age. We have a loss of our total body water loss, and we don't detect thirst as well. So your body has receptors that are able to detect when you're thirsty. However, as we age, those receptors become more sensitive to that. And so, it's important to make an effort to keep yourself hydrated, because if you're not well hydrated, then that puts you at risk for dehydration. Other stressors that can affect dehydration or accelerate it are having a fever or being out in hot weather. And so as a consequence of dehydration, older adults are at risk for things like urinary tract infections or skin breakdown, confusion or disorientation. So a good tip for water, try to have at least 1 to 2 glasses with every meal, and make sure to carry a water bottle with you throughout the day. It's just a reminder to continue to sip and hydrate just to keep yourself hydrated. Also consuming foods that have a high water content like melons or soup. And our next nutrient that is very important is protein. So protein is important for older adults because it helps us support the immune system, helps with maintaining muscle mass and improving bone mass. So you can get those protein sources from lean meats, poultry, fish, eggs, your dairy, and your legumes, which are peas and beans. Individuals who are undernourished or underweight will need to have some extra protein in their diet. So there's some snacks that you can include if you are undernourished or underweight, like having hard-boiled eggs or preparing like a tuna salad to go on crackers or wheat toast, peanut butter on wheat toast, or some sort of hearty soup, something to throw some protein in order to get the amount of protein in. Next nutrient of concern, carbohydrates and fiber. So carbohydrates are our body's energy source. So having carbohydrates with your meals helps so that protein doesn't get used, as your body's energy source. But you'll find your carbohydrates are in your peas and beans, in vegetables and fruits, in your grains. And in addition to being a carbohydrate source, your vegetables, your fruits, and your grains are also good sources of fiber. So the Institute of Health recommends that adults that are 50 and older have 30 grams per day for men and about 21 grams per day for women. So fiber is very important because fiber helps our bowel function to be normal, helps decrease our risk of diabetes and heart disease. And also when you're eating fiber, be sure to get plenty of water. Consuming enough adequate amounts of fiber and drinking water can help to alleviate constipation. Okay, next are fat. Fat is also a source of energy. Older adults, it's good to consume just enough, but not too much, so as to help with lowering your risk of heart disease, because heart disease is the leading cause of death in the United States. So in particular, when you're eating fats, getting some omega-3 fatty acids in your diet, because omega-3 fatty acids have been shown to help with lowering risk of heart disease, like high blood pressure and high triglycerides. So some sources of your omega-3 fatty acids are going to be your tuna, your salmon, or your trout, or even cod. You're also going to find it in your oils that are liquid at room temperature. So cooking with canola oil, or olive oil, soybean oil, you're going to find healthy fats in nuts and seeds, and edamame, and there's even healthier fats in avocado. So older adults should choose to try to limit or avoid some of those not so healthy fats. So like our saturated fat and trans fats. So saturated fats are going to be present in a lot of our fattier items, like products that are made from whole milk or red meat, processed meats, especially like those, popular breakfast meats like bacon or sausage. Going to be in lard and butter and ham, and those fats that are solid at room temperature. So, like the drippings from a meat, if you prepare meat and, save it to the side. Some people like to use it to cook with because of flavor, but it is a source of saturated fat. And saturated fats do contribute to raising cholesterol. So it's good to try to limit saturated fat and try to avoid trans fats if possible. So trans fats are going to be in our processed foods like cakes, cookies, pies, fast foods, and snack foods. So a lot of the good stuff I tell people sometimes. So, but I also tell people everything in moderation. So it's good to be able to enjoy our food. We just don't want to enjoy too much of one thing, and try to choose those healthier fats more often. So cooking with oils instead of like a butter or a margarine that's free of trans fat, and then opting for a lower fat dairy product or fat-free dairy product. So a milk or cheese or sour cream or what have you, any product that's made from milk, try to go for those that are made with skim or fat-free. And then of course, healthier fats can be in our fish that we mentioned earlier, nuts and seeds, of course, in our nut butter spreads like peanut butter or almond butter, whichever your preference is. So now we talked about those larger macronutrients, the protein, the carbs, and the fat. And now I'll get into more of the smaller micronutrients that are of importance. So as we age, older adults are at risk for deficiencies in certain nutrients like calcium, vitamin D, and B12. If there is a concern for nutrient deficiency, maybe consider getting like a blood draw just to see where your levels stand, to know, what types of foods that you need to eat and, to raise your blood level. But vitamin B12 is a vitamin that we need. It's good for our brain health and helps with our red blood cell production. Vitamin B12, older adults are at risk for vitamin B12 deficiency just because of the reduced ability to absorb it. And that may be because of reduced stomach acid. So we need the stomach acid in order to digest and process and utilize B12. But as we age, we don't secrete that stomach acid as much. Vitamin B12 deficiency is also, or there's a risk for people who follow a vegan or vegetarian diet, because vitamin B12 is primarily found in animal products. So lots of your proteins, your eggs, and your meats. And so having a diet or being, vegan or vegetarian puts you at risk. So in order to limit that risk, you can make sure you have a balanced diet that includes some B12 sources or supplementation. You can also consume, there's some foods that are fortified with B12, like certain instant cereals like granola or oatmeal. I believe there's some even in Cheerios, like the multigrain Cheerios. And you can certainly consider supplements. But when it comes to dietary supplements, I encourage people to speak with their primary physician before they just take a supplement, just because your doctor can, assess you. They know your health history and they can determine what type of dosage and the frequency of the supplement that you can take and the delivery method, because the supplements or B12 can, it can come orally as like a pill, or you can get it injections. So, but talking to your doctor can certainly help you to figure out which route to go before you grab the supplement. But food first is great. I always encourage everybody getting nutrients through food first. Next vitamin that is important is vitamin D. So vitamin D deficiency is an issue for older adults. So milk is fortified with vitamin D, and so that is a great dietary source. The only issue is that many adults do not really drink much milk, either because they don't like the taste or maybe because it causes some discomfort. Some other factors that affect vitamin D status are not getting enough sunlight. So that's going to be an issue for individuals who may live in, say, nursing homes, or just for any reason, if you're not able to get out and get enough of that sunlight. In addition to that, another factor that affects vitamin D status is as we age, our skin loses the capability to process and make that vitamin D. So getting vitamin D through your food sources are very important. Fortified milk is a good source, or some of our fatty fish or cheeses. And then supplementations may be needed to achieve adequate levels. Vitamin D is also important for our bone health. It works together with calcium. So that's going to be the next slide. So calcium is helpful in maintaining our bone mass. And unfortunately, as people age, they tend to absorb less calcium. But then the interesting thing is that when you think about why we don't absorb as much calcium, we need vitamin D to help us absorb the calcium. So it just they both go hand in hand. Ultimately, though, with calcium intake, not getting enough calcium and vitamin D can promote bone loss, which increases your risk for fractures. So getting in adequate calcium, there are some sources I've listed from your dairy products, from seeds, from dark green leafy vegetables, from certain fish like salmon or sardines. Some orange juice products can be fortified with calcium and vitamin D, and then other foods like almonds or beans. Okay, and then the next nutrient we have is iron. So the iron needs for men, for the most part, stay the same throughout adulthood. Iron for women, though, decreases at menopause, just because of there's less blood loss through menstruation. But for the most part, iron deficiencies definitely impair our immune health and leaves older adults vulnerable to infectious diseases. Other conditions that are linked to iron deficiencies are if you have like chronic blood loss for some reason, or any medication that might affect absorbing iron. People who have poor iron absorption in their body, and that may be because of reduced stomach acid secretion, or if you're taking an antacid type of medication. So again, making sure the diet has some good iron sources. Iron is going to be in our meats, okay, our poultry and our fish. Really good sources of iron are going to be our organ meats like liver. Iron is also found in certain plant foods like spinach, oatmeal, nuts and seeds, and dark chocolate. but the body absorbs the iron better from those meat products, but nonetheless, you can still get from certain plant sources. And then also when you are consuming those iron-rich products, vitamin C helps our body to absorb that iron. So think of, certain fruits or a juice that has rich in vitamin C. So if you're having like a glass of juice with your meal, having some vitamin C to complement your iron intake will help you to absorb if iron is an issue. All right. And then the last nutrient of concern that we'll talk about is zinc. So zinc deficiency is also an issue, or an intake is commonly low in older adults. So in fact, certain medications can lead to deficiency. So taking immunosuppressants or certain diuretics or certain steroids, they kind of alter how your body absorbs the zinc, or may increase excretion of zinc. So the zinc leaving our bodies for the most part. Some consequences of having a zinc deficiency are having loss of appetite or an altered sense of taste and impairing our immune function. Zinc can be found in a lot of our protein foods. It's found in some of our nuts and seeds and lima beans. So making sure to include a variety of foods on that plate can certainly help with making sure you're getting in all the nutrients possible. And now some nutrition-related concerns for older adults. So vision to start. Having good vision is key for healthy aging. Certain conditions contribute to impairing our vision. So like cataracts, which is basically a cloudy film that develops over the lens of the eyes and can impair your vision if not surgically removed. And then macular degeneration, which is just deterioration of the macular region of the retina. And so what these conditions have in common is that oxidative stress usually contributes to those. I'll try to break it down simply what oxidative stress is, but it's basically an imbalance between free radicals and antioxidants in your body. So free radicals are these cells that cause damage. Free radicals are molecules that cause damage to cells, and they promote illness and aging. Whereas your antioxidants are molecules that help to slow down damage. And so free radicals are naturally occurring in the body, but their production can be accelerated by certain lifestyle factors. So like excessive smoking and drinking and consuming fried foods. So then the alternative would be to have a diet that is rich in fruits and vegetables, where your antioxidants come from, especially berries. So getting in plenty of blueberries and strawberries, things like that, and other vegetables like broccoli and spinach to get those antioxidants in to help slow down any damage and also slow down the aging process. Other conditions that affect older adults would be arthritis. Osteoarthritis is one. Obesity tends to be a common factor associated with osteoarthritis. With osteoarthritis, that's just basically deterioration of the cartilage. And so it's thought that losing weight loss will help to relieve people of some of that pain who have osteoarthritis. And then we have rheumatoid arthritis, where the immune system basically destroys the cartilage. And so consuming a diet that is rich, especially with omega-3 fatty acids, so that's going to be in our fish and some of our oils that we mentioned earlier, and following the Mediterranean diet, which also promotes intake of omega-3 fatty acids. Those can help with slowing down inflammation associated with the rheumatoid arthritis, and also to help improve joint tenderness. And then gout is another form of arthritis, common in men for the most part, and those attacks, for the most part, you want to, in order to improve that, you want to limit your intake of, like, if you have a diet that is, you have excessive meat intake or intake of like seafood, alcohol, or sugary beverages. So for the most part, what they all have in common are just weight loss, if that is, needed for someone who has a higher BMI, engaging in aerobic activity, and a balanced diet. And then next we have the brain, the aging brain. So as we age, the brain goes through some changes. Specifically, one, there's a decrease in the blood supply to the brain. And then two, We have loss of neurons. So neurons are these cells that help with sending signals throughout the body. And it can affect things like our speech and our hearing and our balance and posture. But in order for those neurons to work, they need certain nutrients or precursors to help with signaling and helping the body to function. And so consuming nutrients like vitamin C can help. Also consuming vitamin B6 and folate and vitamin B12 are good for our cognitive function and can help to slow brain atrophy. So all of these conditions, like I said, nutrition certainly can help to play a role in slowing down these effects or these common things that happen as adults age. Next, malnutrition. So this is something I deal with a lot of where I work in my health setting. Most adults are adequately nourished. However, 1 in 6 adults is malnourished. And so contributing factors would be chronic illnesses, because sometimes chronic illnesses that people deal with can cause their appetite to be low, which could cause them to eat less and then ultimately lose weight that way, or the disease itself might be causing that person to lose weight. Certain medications can contribute, depending on the side effects. Sometimes how these medications affect us could affect how we eat and affect our weight. Depression, social isolation, other things would be like economic hardship, are all contributing factors. And so what happens with malnutrition is it can impair our muscle function, have less bone mass. It can impair our immune system, and it can slow down your recovery from an illness or lengthen your hospital stay. So some things to try to make sure to do, or just try to make sure you're eating a lot of nutrient-dense foods. Again, going back to something from each food group, having some adequate protein and fruits and vegetables and grains. For people who aren't able to get enough food through the diet, consuming things like liquid nutrition supplements can be helpful in people that aren't able to eat enough. Make sure you're still eating some food with your nutritional supplement. I try to preach this a lot too where I work, that those nutrition supplements are packed with nutrients, but they don't give us everything that we need for the day, and they're not suitable as meal replacements, but they are there and they are helpful for people to get some additional in. So strategies for growing old healthfully. Again, as I mentioned earlier, eating a nutrient diet or drinking nutritional supplement can certainly help, and other dietary supplements. But of course, at the guidance of your physician, again, before you go for a supplement, make sure you talk with your doctor so that they can find the one that is best for you. Other things to consider are looking into programs for additional help. So the Older Americans Act is a program that can provide meals within the community at community centers. So it's great, especially for people who look forward to that social interaction. So those are good to look into, or volunteers may bring meals to your home. So that's Meals on Wheels. And then the Senior Farmers Market Nutrition Program basically gives participants coupons that they can use at their farmers market or roadside stands, and they can exchange those coupons for fruits and vegetables. So what about the people who live alone? Meals for singles. So when you're living alone, it can be hard to find the right amount of food to purchase for just yourself. So definitely start with a grocery list and try to keep some of those staples on hand. Getting things that are shelf stable that can last for several months. So that might be like your certain grains or canned products or beans and rice, things like that can last for a good while. If you have adequate freezer space, then getting, whatever meat products that are on sale, and then separating those individually so that when you want to cook and prepare, you can just kind of take out what you need for yourself. And then buying in season fruits and vegetables is good and cost effective. And then getting creative with meals at home. So if you have any leftovers, adding those to like a stir fry, whatever meat and veggie that you have left over, combining those together for a stir fry over rice, or adding everything in one pot for a large pot of soup. Invite somebody over to share your meal with, to get that social interaction, because they might return the favor. So takeaway message, for the most part, just focusing on nutrient dense foods. Hopefully as we talked about deficiencies and certain conditions that affect aging adults, and then the nutritional recommendations for that. Hopefully you get the idea that a well-balanced diet for the most part is key, because there's so many different food groups that will give us all of those things that we need. So in general, just having that balanced diet and focusing on those nutrient dense foods will certainly help with the aging process. Consider supplements, so like liquid nutrition supplements or even dietary supplements. But again, I always preach food first to get those things that we need. But sometimes for people that have a hard time getting in enough, then supplements can come in handy. Staying hydrated, of course, to prevent risk of dehydration and any other complications from that. Staying social, because loneliness is associated with a decline in so many different ways. So being around loved ones and friends can certainly improve your mood and your energy. Typically, social gatherings, food is usually like the center of all of that. Birthdays or promotions, graduation, weddings, food is always involved. So it'll also help with being able to eat enough. And then, of course, seeking help from your healthcare provider or your healthcare team, just because they know you best. Everybody is different, and considering your health status and what your needs are, your healthcare team can look a lot closer to help you figure out what exactly you need to stay healthy and maintain your independence. Thank you all. I appreciate your time. And now, and my references. Yeah, definitely. Oh, you know what? I'm sorry, go on. Oh, perfect. Yes, that's good. Yeah, yogurt is perfect. And I'm a little embarrassed because I don't know if the word yogurt left my mouth at all at this time. But yes, yogurt for sure. There's so many things you can do with it. Eat it by itself. You throw it in a smoothie. That's perfect. Um, Anything, you use it as a topping. I throw granola and lots of fruit in mine. So you get those probiotics that are in yogurt. It's you can get you can get adequate protein from yogurt, and then you can flavor it with fruits and vegetables. So that just adds in like the fiber and all the other smaller vitamins and minerals that you need. And then granola, you'll get the fiber as well and the crunch. Oh, no. Oh, I hope that means covered it all. Thank you.